Portrayal of Minorities in Movies by C.J. Carter. This is just a little introduction on a little overview of what I'm going to talk about. The influence of race on films. There's a bigger influence on films that race has than I knew previously before doing research about this topic. Stereotypes, whether they're real or made up, it's always been a big topic of discussion in society where stereotypes come from, whether they're real or whether they're just made up. And stereotypes on film, how these stereotypes that are either real or made up, how they're depicted on film. The portrayal of minorities in film, how they're seen, the politics of film. There's a lot more politics that goes into film than I thought. Just some of the views of society and just a little quick history lesson, I guess you could say. Racial influence. I read in a book by Andrew J. Weaver. Movie producers are often reluctant to cast more than a few minority actors in otherwise race-neutral movies for fear that audiences will largely avoid such films. It's a shame that we as people have not grown enough to where we can just go see a movie for the quality of the picture and not for the color of the skin of the cast members. I do not agree with what the producers their way of thinking, but I do understand it. They want their film to be successful. They want it to make a lot of money, and they want good reviews. They want people to relate to their movie, and they want their movie to evoke emotions in people that otherwise would not have been evoked. But at the same time, I do not agree with what they're doing. I feel like their film loses integrity when conforming to what people want. I feel like the better actor the best actors for that role should be cast, not just conforming to what people want and giving them Caucasian actors. I feel it's an injustice. I myself, I'm a basketball player, and I know that if my coach gave a person on my team playing time just because of the color of their skin, I would have a big issue with that. I feel that the best actor should act. Just as on the basketball court, the best player plays, the best actor should act. The color of their skin should not matter. Are these stereotypes real or fantasy? In the volume 3 of the text, The Movies, Stereotypes or Realities by Ralph H. Gunlock on pages 26 to 32 is a very in-depth discussion on racial stereotypes in movies, where they come from, and whether or not they're real or made up. A big question after reading that discussion, a big question that arose in my mind was, do these points of view come from rumors or word of mouth, or is this reality? A question for you, the audience: what's your take on this? Are these stereotypes portrayed accurately, or are they exaggerated in films? Stereotypes on screen: minorities play athletes, entertainers, or criminals. An example of this: Training Day, a movie with Ethan Hawke, and who plays a detective in training, a narcotics detective in training, and his sort of mentor in the movie turns out to be a crooked cop, and the crooked cop is played by African-American actor Denzel Washington. Paid in Full, a movie about the drug world in New York City, are played by many African-American. There's many African-American actors throughout this movie. Mekhi Phifer and actor and rapper Cameron, just to name a few, and Love and Basketball, a movie about athletes, basketball players. They a male and female, played by African American actor Omar Epps and African American actress Sanaa Lathan. It's just their evolution as basketball players, all while just going through the trials and tribulations of being in a relationship. Is there any truth to these stereotypes? Is there a reason as to why these roles are cast? Here's a picture on the left. Queen Latifah in the movie set it off with a gun, sitting outside of a car window shooting a machine gun, and to the right there's a Caucasian actor, George Clooney, playing a doctor. Is every African American a criminal, an athlete, or entertainer, and is every Caucasian a doctor, politician, or law enforcement? Is that the way we see them in society? Cognitive Technology, Essays on the Transformation of Thought and Society by W. Richard Walker and Douglas J. Lerman really gives an in-depth discussion on the portrayal of minorities in film. Stereotypes in society about any race, not just minorities, are often supplemented in movies. Stereotypes are where these roles derive from. So that's just basically to say the roles that we see in movies is where we get the ideas for these stereotypes. I feel that that's where stereotypes come from, what we see on TV, because movies, everyone goes to the movies. Everyone has their favorite movie. Everyone is somewhat a movie buff. You grew up watching movies. So the roles that you see in these films and the ethnicities of these actors that you see playing these roles is what you're going to view that ethnicity as. That ethnicity will, that image of that ethnicity will always be imprinted in your brain. Unfortunately, there are politics in about every facet of society. It's a lot like high school. The more popular you are, the easier things will be for you. Unfortunately, the capabilities of an individual is not appreciated more than, whereas who that person knows is appreciated, which is really a shame. Like many other areas in society, minorities have yet to be viewed as equal or attain validity. This is the prime reason why minorities are selected for lesser jobs and cast for lesser roles. They're not seen that high on the societal totem pole just yet. I feel like we have a long way to go before we can get to that way of thinking as a people. In these films, there's a lot of hidden messages. The views of society, but minorities are displayed in these films. They're very subtle, but the signs are present. Media and Minorities, the Politics of Race in News and Entertainment by Stephanie Greco-Larson talks about this very notion. In my opinion, it's a subtle form of brainwashing. The movies that society love most depict these preconceived notions about minorities. There's not really a lot of love stories where minorities are cast. Two very iconic love stories, The Notebook and Titanic, were played by Caucasian actors, whereas you never really see minorities cast for that role. Like I said earlier, minorities are usually cast as entertainers or athletes. To the left, I forget the name of the actor, but an African American actor was cast for the movie The Express, a movie about the football player Jim Brown. And on the right, Curtis Jackson, also known as 50 Cent, the rapper, was cast for the movie Get Rich or Die Trying. Is a story about a up-and-coming rapper in Queens, New York, and how he was raised, and he had a very tough upbringing. the way minorities are portrayed in films only supplements society's preconceived notions. The way that society thinks, it's the roles that are cast in these films only backs up what is already thought. It doesn't correct or set straight the preconceived notions. It only agrees with them. And a step further, for generations to come, it glorifies these images. So kids growing up see these images and think that that's the way things should be and that's the right way to do things. And it just continues this cycle, never stopping it. In the eyes of society, minorities are viewed as thugs, rappers, or athletes. Whites are seen as scientists, doctors, or politicians. And we as people must overcome that small-mindedness. I feel like in this day and age, we should be a lot more evolved in our way of thinking, and I feel like that's a very closed-minded way of thinking. Just a quote from the I Have a Dream speech by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I feel like that it really is the heart of what this topic or this presentation is about. You should be judged by your character and by who you are as a person, not what you look like on the outside. Since then, we've come a very long way, but as society and the way we think and the way we view each other, but we still have a very long way to go.